What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the film room. Today, gonna be getting into something that might be a little bit controversial and is definitely polarizing in the Cowboys community, and that is going to be whether or not we should re-sign free agent Xavier Woods. The general consensus, as it seems right now among Cowboys fans and media, is that we need to bring in another guy in free agency or go with a safety in an early round of the draft to be a replacement for Xavier Woods at that free safety spot and pair with Donovan Wilson in the back end of that defense. But of course, before we make any decisions on this channel, we gotta head to the film room and let that film talk. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, taking a look at some of the pros and cons of Xavier Woods. Woods is a guy who was heavily critiqued this past season after being quoted to us saying that obviously he cannot go 100% every play, and that's just not what happens in the NFL. And even if there may be some truth to that, that's just not really something you say. So we're definitely going to be taking a look at that, see if that showed up in his film at all from this past season and to what extent. Also going to be taking a look and talking at how I think he might fit into this Dan Quinn scheme if we are to re-sign him, and what some positives and negatives we might have in looking at Xavier Woods at the free safety spot in this Dan Quinn scheme. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. As always, definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button. So close to 2,000 subscribers. Cannot thank you guys enough for that. And with that being said, let's go on and get into it. Getting into it, I do want to preface this with saying that I do think this was a very unfortunate year for Xavier Woods to be in a contract year. And I'm saying that because I do not think Mike Nolan's scheme was very safety friendly. I think at times it often put his safeties, whether it be Donovan Wilson or Xavier Woods, in weird spots and often had them moving around or interchanging roles. And it was a bit confusing and I'm sure a bit frustrating at times for both Wilson and Woods. Woods throughout this past season was seen lined up all over the field, whether it be at slot corner, outside corner, down in the box as an extra rusher, down in the box as kind of like a third linebacker, or just dropping back off into a straight deep third in a cover 3 or a cover 1 look. Woods kind of did a little bit of everything at the safety spot, and Donovan Wilson was also doing that too. This play here, for example, the two safeties on this play are actually going to be Steven Parker down here and then Xavier Woods up top. And you'll see Steven Parker down, kind of coming off the edge, maybe disguising a blitz. And then Xavier Woods, of course, up top at the free safety spot. But what's going to happen on the snap is you're going to see Xavier Woods come down into an underneath zone, kind of in a hook to curl area. And then Steven Parker is actually going to drop back and just full-on sprint to try and cover the deep middle third of the field. And you'll see that here, and it's just stuff like this. I get you're trying to disguise stuff, but it just doesn't really seem necessary. If Juju Smith-Schuster runs past Xavier Woods, who's coming down and getting this underneath zone, then Steven Parker might just be left out to dry. I don't know if he's got the speed to get back there like that. Juju probably could have found a seam over the middle here if that was the play call. So just stuff like this is just very weird, just how we're using our safeties, and doesn't really seem necessary or really seem to make any sense at all. So knowing that Dan Quinn's scheme, what he will bring into this Dallas defense will likely be much, much different than that of what Mike Nolan brought in, whatever the hell it was that Mike Nolan brought in. Where does Xavier Woods slot into that? And I think it's just going to be something pretty much like this on a down-to-down basis. You're just going to have Xavier Woods dropping back off into a deep middle third, whether that be in a cover 3 look or a cover 1 look. I think cover 3 and cover 1 are going to be the two defensive coverages that we go to the most in this Dan Quinn scheme. And then you're just going to have Donovan Wilson kind of down here. You can send him on blitzes, have him cover out here in a slot on a tight end, whatever it may be, drop off in a middle zone and a hook to curl in a cover 3 look. Just kind of be that middle of the field down in the box roamer at the strong safety spot. So I just think this is what we'll see pretty often, just Xavier Woods dropping back and doing this. And as far from a pure coverage standpoint, I think this is where he would be best fit at. Xavier Woods, while he might not be that elite playmaker, he is a guy that you can trust at the very least to keep the cap on the defense. When it came to yards per attempt with him in coverage, he ranked 6th in the league among all free safeties. So you know he's a guy that at the very least, like I said, you can trust to keep the lid on your defense. He's not going to be a guy that, barring any miscommunications out of your secondary, is going to get beat over the top very much, but you also sacrifice that in that he's not going to be a guy that's going to be cracking down, flying sideline to sideline on receivers. He drops some footballs that he shouldn't, maybe not going to have the interception numbers that you might want to see out of an elite playmaking safety, or what you would want out of a playmaking safety at the top of your defense. So you do sacrifice that with having a guy that you know you can trust. So it really just depends on the price point for Xavier Woods. Are we willing to pay this guy maybe middle of the tier, middle of the pack kind of money to come in and basically just drop back into a deep third every play? Or do you want to spend a little more to go get a guy that you know can do that and come in as well and be sideline to sideline making plays? Maybe a Marcus May kind of guy. Marcus Williams has shown that he does have the potential to do that. Go in the draft, maybe Trayvon Moehrig, Richie Grant, guys that have speed that can come down and make plays on the football a lot quicker than Xavier Woods could, but also maybe sacrifice some of that. Okay, these guys might get beat over the top. So it really is just a trade-off here. I do think if Xavier Woods was brought into this scheme, he would be fine. I don't think it would be a problem necessarily for this defense, especially if we got him at a good price, but you're just definitely sacrificing some playmaking ability there. Also, another point to make, if Xavier Woods is able to do this, I would love to see Donovan Wilson just purely in this role every down. I do think him being down in the box and being able to kind of roam in the middle of the field, you've seen it in pretty much every defense that Dan Quinn has a guy that's just going to drop off into a middle third, whether that be Cam Chancellor in his time in Seattle or Ricardo Allen in his time in Atlanta, and then a guy that's going to be down here in the box, cracking skulls, coming down on blitzes, whatever it may be. You saw in his time in Seattle, they had that with Cam Chancellor, and then his time in Atlanta, he had that with Keanu Neal. So, yeah, like I said, guys, I do think it could be a good fit, but you definitely have the trade-off of potentially straying away from getting a more playmaking and versatile safety that you can put at the top of this Dallas defense. And of course, when talking about Xavier Woods, I think you have to bring up effort. We know the comments he made earlier in this season saying, obviously, players can't go 100% every play. And even if there is some truth to that, that's just something you can't say. That's not going to go over well with the media, the fans, the locker room, coaches. That's just something you don't say, kind of an unspoken thing in the NFL, but you just don't say it. So, did this show on his film? And I think it certainly did at times. This Ravens game, it was pretty noticeable that by the fourth quarter, he had just kind of thrown the towel in. And I don't think this was a consistent effort with Xavier Woods. I think because of his comments, it was kind of blown out of proportion. But you'll see on plays like this, it definitely did show at times. You'll see him come down here, be responsible for containing this edge, and he's just kind of floating and doesn't really make maybe the best effort to get down and really set that edge. And I understand you're wary of the read option and it coming up the middle, but you have to trust your linebackers to be able to do that. You know your responsibility is to come out here and set this edge, and he just doesn't really seem to care to do that. You'll see him just kind of floating out here, kind of bounce down, just kind of lollygag his way down there. And a guy like Gus Edwards should not be beating you to the edge that easily. It's as simple as that. And you'll see it again on this play here, Woods, even though the Cowboys likely out of the game at this point, late in the fourth quarter, just not really seeming to care whatsoever, kind of no fight really in him at all, and it shows on this play. You'll see him down here just kind of floating, barely really initiating contact, making any effort to stop the ball carrier, J.K. Dobbins, from getting into the end zone, just kind of standing with his feet planted and hoping that for some reason Dobbins just runs right into him, and just really no effort. And it sucks to see because I do think when Xavier Woods gives effort, he is a really solid player. And I do think that this isn't a consistent problem, but the fact that it showed up on his film in a year where a lack of effort was a pretty prominent part of this Dallas defense, it definitely is disappointing to see and makes you not want to bring back a guy like this. You don't think he can be a leader maybe, especially with those comments, even if there is truth to it. That's just something you don't say, and especially if it's showing up on your film. This was just one of a handful of plays throughout the season where Xavier Woods seemed to throw in the towel. I'll bring it over here from this angle so you guys can kind of see it. They're just kind of floating around, not really wanting to initiate contact or make a real effort to stop Dobbins from getting to the end zone. And yeah, in a contract year, man, that's just something you hate to see on a guy's film. So I would definitely say there is a level of truth to the comments that Xavier Woods made. And even if you can't give 100% on every play, whether that be on the backside of a run or you're just not going to chase down a guy that's already caught, you can definitely give effort when a guy's coming right up the middle, right into your gap, and you're making no real attempt to try and stop him from doing so. So when it comes to what I think we should do with Xavier Woods, I do think it is indeed time to move on, whether that be replacing him with a guy in free agency like Marcus Williams, Marcus May, Trey Boston even, or going the route of the draft, maybe using that second-round pick on a guy like Trayvon Moehrig if he's there, Richie Grant, or Darius Washington if you like him. But I do definitely think it is time to move on from Xavier Woods. Definitely do not be surprised, though, if we do bring him back. I think there is going to be a push for a lot of middle-of-the-pack guys when it comes to contract price, and that's just at every position with the uncertainty of the salary cap going into this upcoming season and future seasons for that matter. I do think a lot of mid-tier guys are going to be getting signed this offseason. But definitely let me know what you guys think of all this, what your ideal situation for Xavier Woods is, and if you'd be happy or not if we were to re-sign him, what your thoughts on that would be. So definitely don't forget to subscribe. So close to 2,000 subscribers. Once again, cannot thank you guys enough for that. And yeah, guys, I'll see you on the next video. Appreciate y'all for stopping by.